All right. Hi, everyone. I want to do a video on a recent Fox News report they released on Brett Baer's show. I don't watch Fox News, so I'm not really familiar with the anchors, but, I've met Brett Baer guys, though. He's been on there for a while. I'm familiar with him back when I used to follow that stuff back 10, 15 years ago when I actually believed they told you the truth on the news. But we all know that's not the truth. But anyways, why I want to talk about Brett Baer and his report is because he recently did a report on UFOs and the link to unexplained pregnancies. Now, folks, I have been saying in my group for over 10 years now that unexplained pregnancies are linked to demonic activity, right? And there are people that link demonic activity to this type of stuff, like Jacques Vallée, John Mack, who's Harvard educated, who a lot of people believe when he died, he was ran over on the street, and a lot of people think that they killed him on purpose, okay, because of his reports that linked UFOs to demonic activity and whatnot. And basically, Jacques Vallée and John Mack came to the same conclusion that the demonic entity that UFO activity is closely related to the accounts of demonic activity from times past, right? That it was mystical in a sense, and it just really, like I said, I won't take away from what they said. They literally say that it mirrors the demonic activity reported in ancient texts and whatnot. Okay, but the relevant thing here is the U.S. government is starting to dole this out piece by piece, and trust me, folks, this report was released from the DoD, okay, through the Freedom of Information Act. But they can still reject to do that. They only let out what they want through the Freedom of Information Act. And believe you me, folks, our media is controlled by the government. Google Operation Mockingbird and go research it, right? It's controlled by the CIA. So they're only going to tell you what they want you to know. So what they're doing is kind of piecemealing out disclosure, putting it out there one piece at a time, and then using their quantum computers and everything and their algorithms to track how people respond on the internet. Did you freak out on the internet? Did you repost it? Are people messaging back? Because they're recording every keystroke you make on your computer and on your phone. Did you freak out? Are you ready for it? To try to gauge whether you're ready for the next step. That's my opinion. That's what I believe they're doing. And folks, I don't know very many people that are in the truther movement that would argue that. I mean, that's the kind of network they have. When they passed the Patriot laws, or whatever they call it, the Patriot Act that George Bush passed, that all our freedoms were gone that day. They created the NSA, and literally, man, if you fart in your sleep, they've got it recorded. Your phone recorded it, and they've got it. They know you farted in your sleep at 3:30 a.m. That's just that microphone. The microphone on your phone is recording everything you say and everything you do. The NSA is downloading it. That's an absolute fact. If you don't understand that by now, you're behind the game, folks. Get with the program here. Anyways, I want to talk about this video. All right. Now, because I have so much problems trying to post media and getting YouTube and whatnot not to take it down, okay, I'm going to try to add the 2-minute, 30-second video clip that I'm talking about that aired on Fox News at the end of this video. But just in case they don't allow me to do it, I need to do the video first with my notes. That way I can just go back and clip the end off and then repost it, and it'll be a lot less work for me. But I want to go over the important parts of what and it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, but it's literally information packed, okay? Now, first off, okay, Brett Baer and this guy that's also commenting on it, and they interviewed Jeremy Corbell, more on that later, okay? They're commenting on this U.S. Department of Defense report from 2010. So the U.S. military has known about this at least since 2010, but way earlier. We all know that it was way earlier. But now this report confirms that at least as far back as 2010, they knew this phenomenon was happening, right? Okay? And I'm just going to read off my notes, and where I want to elaborate, I'll elaborate on it. But I'm going to get started here. Okay. This recently released U.S. Department of Defense summary reports on what they call UFO-induced effects, such as abductions, paralysis, electrical shocks, and sexual encounters. Now, folks, I've been telling y'all for 10 years, and they talk about missing pregnancies too, and I'll get to that. I've been talking about this for 10 years, about how demonic attacks and sleep paralysis are often accompanied by electrical phenomenon and even us receiving shocks. So right here, put 2 and 2 together, you can very quickly realize we're talking about the same thing here, folks. UFO activity and demonic activity are linked. They are from the same type of beings, folks, okay? All right, now moving on. The DoD document is from 2010, and it is titled Anomalous, Acute, and Subacute Field Effects on Human Biological Tissues. All right, folks. Now, I had to look up and see what these words mean. I'm still not completely convinced I know exactly what the title of that document means, but I'm going to take a stab at it here. Okay, the first word was anomalous, okay? Deviating from what is standard, normal, or expected. Okay, so abnormal, okay? Acute, a bad, difficult, or unwelcome situation or phenomenon, presented or experienced to a severe or intense degree. So severe, folks, okay? Drastic, dire, severe, those, you know, this is what we're talking about here. You got subacute, of a condition between acute and chronic, meaning that it's not acute, not as serious, okay, but it's still kind of serious, right? Field effects, okay. In physics, field effects refers to the modulation of electrical conductivity of a material by the application of an external electric field. In my opinion, they're talking about how the electric field around these entities or during this experience and its effect on human beings, folks. And we've talked about that before. I've talked about that in my group. When these demonic entities are around and when people are experiencing sleep paralysis, an abduction scenario, or even a sexual encounter, your ears ring, your ears buzz. People report being able to feel like an electrical charge in the air. Some report being shocked with an electrical charge during these encounters. That's what I believe this field effects, in this reference to field effects is referring to, okay? And you've got modulation, all right? For example, the modulation signal might be an audio signal representing sound from a microphone, a video signal representing moving images from a video camera, or a digital signal representing a sequence of binary digits, blah, blah, blah. I think you get the point. They're talking about something that's manipulating, from my understanding, that's manipulating this electrical field, folks, okay? And again, the title of that document is Anomalous, Acute, and Subacute Field Effects on Human Biological Tissues, okay? Now, all right. The second point I want to make, they present photos from George Knapp and clips from an interview with Jeremy Corbell, okay? And if you've seen my video series on YouTube and Rumble about Skinwalker Ranch, I think I got 2 or 3 parts, I can't remember. You probably remember those 2 individuals because I referenced the movie that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell made on Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion on what's going on, folks. You have 2 camps, okay? 2 camps, 2 elite families that are trying to control the narrative of disclosure. One are the Rothschilds, who I've spoken in times past, who work with closely with Kushner, okay, Jared Kushner. Trump's daughter married Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner was a part of Trump's cabinet, and I believe the Rothschilds are a faction of Luciferians that are in bed with Donald Trump and that whole administration, okay? I don't believe they're the good guys. I believe they're seemingly the good guys, and I agree with most of what Donald Trump says, but that doesn't mean I trust him. I believe he's Rothschild-controlled by way of Jared Kushner, okay? Who did he send to negotiate with Saudi Arabia and try to put together the peace deal for Israel, right? Okay, Jared Kushner went over there, right? So I believe, again, you have 2 camps, and then you have the Rockefellers as the other main camp. They are closely tied to Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, John Podesta, and Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Stephen Greer is the Rockefellers' version of Jeremy Corbell. Stephen Greer has been around a very long time. He advised the President Bush administration on UFOs. He advised the Barack Obama administration on UFOs. He even claims to have advised Trump's administration on UFOs and disclosure. This dude has been lingering around for a long time. He has the CE5 group, folks. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, CE5. They literally have videos, and he has a movie called Unacknowledged that is on, I believe, Hulu or Amazon Prime, where they literally goes over the conjuring rituals, where this guy gets out there with his CE5 group, and they literally do conjuring rituals, and these entities show up, lights flash in the sky, and these entities are said to manifest, And one clip, one picture of what manifested in one of Stephen Greer's Conjuring episodes here, okay, was something that looked just like Lamb, the demonic entity that Aleister Crowley conjured that there are drawings of, okay? Lamb is what Crowley said its name was, Lam. It had a big head and a small like facial features and kind of resembled an alien gray, right? So once again, you've got the Rothschilds who are controlling their narrative through like this fake Christian Trump administration group, right? Okay. And then you've got the other side of that coin, which is the Rockefellers, largely influenced by Lawrence Rockefeller, who I believe is dead now. But Lawrence Rockefeller was a UFO enthusiast and one of these tree huggers, man. He went absolutely crazy into this, but it also opened the door for a lot of these political groups, and he got in bed with the Clinton Foundation, Podesta, and all those people, right? And that's Stephen Greer seems to control most of what they say about disclosure, and on the other hand, most of what Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp say currently seem to be filtered through the Rothschild filter, okay? Those two groups, I believe, literally control the Democrats and the Republicans and U.S. politics. The Republicans are Rothschild-controlled. The Republican Trump people are Rothschild-controlled. And Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, okay, they are Rockefeller-controlled, right? Trace it back. The Rockefeller Foundation is tied to the Hillary Clinton Foundation and all them financially. Folks, they're literally linked at the hip, right? There's no denying it. And I don't think that enough focus is put on the Rockefeller Foundation for the stuff that they do. I believe that George Soros gets blamed for a lot of the stuff that the Rockefeller Foundation is responsible for. Now, is he an agent of the Rockefellers? Probably, I don't know. But you hear George Soros' name mentioned all the time, and no one ever references the Rockefeller Foundation, their links to the Clintons and all that other garbage. All right. Now, just to kind of reiterate, I kind of got lost there. George Knapp and Corbell, who I believe are Rothschild-controlled, they have been on Joe Rogan's program, and we all know that Joe Rogan currently, and for the last couple years, has promoted a more conservative outlook. He is definitely more supportive of Donald Trump and people who support Trump like Alex Jones, than he is supportive of any Democrat right now. I believe he's in bed with the Rothschilds, the Rothschild-controlled group. Now, do they actually know Rothschilds? No, but they're controlled by them. There are agents that handle them, Like, for instance, Roger Stone handles a lot of this, folks. Roger Stone handles, quote-unquote, handles Alex Jones. Alex Jones got into a lot of trouble for the stuff he said about the Sandy Hook shootings, folks. And they came in, as best that I can tell, in my opinion, they were going to throw him in prison over what he said about Sandy Hook. And Trump's people, through Roger Stone, came in and said, hey, we can protect you from that, but you got to go to work for us. And that's exactly what he's done ever since. Go back and look at the dates and the litigations and what happened and try to tell me that's not what happened. Anyways, that's my speculation. That's what I believe. If you believe it, fine. If you don't, well, okay, Anyways, okay, moving on. More about this alien stuff. Okay. They mentioned people that have these types of experience with UFOs. They report injuries like radiation burns, brain damage, paralysis. That's very generalized. That's not very much detail in what's on this report. These are just generalizations. Now, what do they mean that after somebody experiences a UFO experience, part of their body is paralyzed? I've heard that before. I know that that's happening. But are they making a reference also to sleep paralysis? We don't know. I don't know. I haven't had access to that type of information. But I do know the phenomenon is linked. Okay, moving on. Jeremy Corbell mentions in his little segment of that news video on Fox News presented by Brett Baer that they are, quote-unquote, altering DNA, but it's unclear exactly what he means by that, right? You say they're altering DNA, and you also, in the same report that's only 2 minutes long, say there's unexplained pregnancies. What are you really saying? Is that kind of saying it without saying it? Are they talking about hybrids, which I believe they are? That's what this is leading up to, and I'll get into that a little more here in a minute. All right. This report was prepared in 2010 by the Pentagon's, quote-unquote, Secret Advanced Aerospace Weapons Program. Okay, now this was a department that has since been dissolved within the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, folks. That's as far back as 2010 is when this report was published. So while they were running around mocking everybody in the truther movement that was saying these sightings of UFOs in the air are real, and they were making us all out to be fools in the public, They knew it was going on in private and privately studying it and hiding it from us. Okay? I was one of the people saying the stuff was real in 2010 and getting laughed to scorn, and every newscaster, and everybody who reported on it, it was always tongue-in-cheek, and they laughed about what fools we are. We're a bunch of crazy people. We believe in aliens and UFOs. Well, now they're admitting what we've all been telling you for how long, And there are a lot of people that were doing this a lot longer before I showed up, folks. Those people have been disrespected in ways that they should be publicly apologized to, but you're probably never going to see that. But the government should publicly apologize to people that have been trying to, like Stanton Friedman, I believe his name is. A lot of people that have been, I think he's dead now, but a lot of people have been involved in those movements, folks, for a long time, and the government has smeared them publicly and made them look like fools, only to find out they were studying it at the same time they were smearing everybody else, okay? They should be financially, they should be able to, They somehow they need to work it out to fix with the damage they've done to these people's reputations, their businesses, and whatnot. Now, how exactly you do that, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that, but they ought to do something and they ought to publicly apologize. Anyways, okay. A significant quote from this report is as follows. Sufficient incidents, accidents have been accurately reported and medical data acquired as to support a hypothesis that some advanced systems are already deployed and opaque to the full U.S. understanding. Now, what's that mean? That means that incidents got reported, they were accurately reported, medical data was acquired, okay, and it supports the hypothesis that advanced systems are already deployed, meaning that there is an entity out here of unknown origin, okay, that is literally deploying these types of weapons, these electrical field weapons that are leaving tangible evidence that they can go back and collect after the fact. They are confirming that it's real. It's no longer just deciding you can call a hallucination. There is physical evidence and medical documentation to go along with this stuff, right? All right. They mention abductions, perceived time loss, sexual encounters, and unexplained pregnancies. Now, folks, maybe you don't know what the definition of unexplained pregnancy is in the truther moment. An unexplained pregnancy, most people will agree, is defined as a woman has a UFO experience or an incubus experience. Okay, she has not had sexual relations with an actual man, okay, in reality, and somehow she mysteriously becomes pregnant. She goes to the doctor, gets the pregnancy confirmed, then goes back to the doctor for a checkup, and the pregnancy is gone. Now, they've confirmed the pregnancy, they've confirmed it through blood work, everything, and then it's poof, it's like she shows up and it's gone, and there are no signs of a miscarriage. There are no signs that anything ever happened. The pregnancy disappears, folks, within like the first trimester. Okay? So there's physical evidence there. You've got the blood work and whatnot that proves the woman's pregnant. The doctor says, yeah, you're pregnant, They can do that by testing your blood. I don't know if it's hormones or whatever it is, but they can tell you're pregnant by blood work, right? And then when she comes back for a checkup, it's just gone. Poof, it's gone. No miscarriage, no nothing. Pregnancy's just gone. Now, the most popular and most credible working theory to this is also the strangest. If there was a pregnancy there and it's not there anymore, in my humble opinion, somebody went and took it out of there, folks, okay? That's where the whole hybrid thing comes. And these women that have these missing pregnancies, oftentimes months later, they have an experience where they are asleep at night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Typically, it's at night. And they wake up to an alien type of being there with some child-looking hybrid. And the feeling is, even if it's not communicated audibly, the feeling is that child has part of their DNA, and they are bringing that hybrid back to show that hybrid who its mother is. And the parents, the women that experience this say they are horrified. They do not feel like that's their child. They can feel negative energy coming from these things, folks, because they're evil. They're fallen. It's a modern day Nephilim, right? And that's supported in the Bible, and I'll get to that in a moment. But this is what is reported, and it's not reported a handful of times. This stuff has been reported over and over and over and over and over, especially since the 70s up until present day. Folks, I just don't know how much more people are going to dance around this issue and try to pretend like these things aren't happening. Okay? It's happening. The U.S. military is beginning to admit it. So laugh and mock all you want right now. In my humble opinion, you are going to eat every word of that. You are going to wake up one day and they will probably show you a hybrid on TV and tell you they will promote the panspermia belief, and that means that we were seeded here and that our space brothers have guided our evolution, and now they're here to give us our final step, and that'll probably play into the mark and say, become one of the hybrids like these things right here, and you'll step into the new golden age of man, predicted by Kume Sybil and every other lunatic, out here that has been predicting this for how many years? It goes back to antiquity. They've been predicting this stuff, folks. Okay. Now, before I get bogged down in that and start ranting, okay. All right, I already said that. Okay. One more thing I want to note about what the reporter in this news report says. Okay. He states that more quote-unquote military UFO videos and documents are expected to be released later this year, and he also notes that there has been no response from the Pentagon in regards to this report. Okay, if there's no response from the Pentagon or the government regarding this report, how can he sit there and tell you that it's expected more military UFO videos and documents are expected to be released? Well, who's expecting that and based on what? I'm telling you, folks. This whole operation of disclosure is being disclosed. It's being handled by the deep state. Okay, trust me, believe me, folks. The CIA and the deep state tell these news companies what they can broadcast and what they can't. Okay, that is all planned in a government meeting room, folks. Okay, that's my opinion on it. Now, I can't prove that. I'm not there, but I believe that you can prove it to yourself if you pay attention to what they say and the narrative they push and watch the results. All right. Now, I want to talk about the Bible verses that support the hybrid theory, that support that these missing pregnancies are most likely hybrid entities. Okay, we're going to start with Genesis 6, 1 through 4. Okay, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, folks, those are fallen angelic beings. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair. The daughters of men are human women, okay? They saw they were fair. They are attracted to them. They are beautiful. They want to have sexual relations with them. And they took them wives of all which they chose. They took wives. Folks, the Greek and Roman accounts of these gods coming down and sleeping with mortal women and having these demigods, folks, that is their spin on an actual event, okay? Angelic beings, fallen beings, came down and literally took wives and had hybrids called Nephilim, okay? And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Okay, there were giants on the earth in those days. I'm going to stop you right there, folks. I don't like the NIV much, but the NIV translates it right here. Giant is what they are. That was a side effect of back then of having an angelic father. Most of them were giants, but that word is actually Nephal, and it translates in English to Nephilim. That is a hybrid being. That is a half angel, half human hybrid, because the sons of God had sex with the daughters of men and produced hybrid beings, demigods, okay? There were giants on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Right there, men of renown. That's Hercules, that's Thor, that's those type of stories built around these demigods, folks, okay? That is literally, and I am 110% convinced that is a fact of our reality. That is a fact of the history of mankind, and right there it is in the Bible. All right, moving on. Current day. Now, I don't have these Bible verses pulled up, but you go check me out. I think it's 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 1:6. They talk about the angels that are in chains and everlasting darkness, the angels that sin. And in Jude 1, Jude compares them to the sexual sin that happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. He references Sodom and Gomorrah. So he's obviously talking about a sexual sin that these giants did, and they are locked up in chains until judgment. Why isn't Satan locked up? Obviously because Satan did not get his hands dirty and actually participate in the actual taking of women. If an angelic being came down and takes woman, and the Bible says all of which they chose, they forced themselves on those women, folks. They forced themselves, okay? They didn't cut deals. They didn't ask these women if they wanted to marry them. They forcefully took them and had sex with them. They violated mankind's God-given free will, and in my opinion, that's why they're locked up. And that is why they're different from what is in Daniel 2:43 about the final dispensation of time, the final kingdom on earth, okay? Daniel says, he's interpreting the vision, okay? I think it was Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and he's talking about the kingdoms of the earth. Remember, you got the statue, the heads of gold, and the material changes as you get down to the feet. And now he's talking at the feet, the final kingdom, before the rock smashes you at the feet, and the rock is Jesus Christ returning for the millennial reign, right? Okay, whereas all sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Okay, so what's happening? Why aren't these beings that are mingling with the seed of men, why aren't they being locked up like the ones that are chained in hell that Peter and Jude was talking about? My opinion, they're not violating mankind's free will. They are deal makers now, folks. What did Satan do when he offered Jesus all the kingdoms of the world in an instant if he would only bow down and follow him? He offered him a deal. They stopped. I think they've learned from prior mistakes. If they don't violate mankind's free will, folks, then they are allowed to play this out, and God will let it continue until the end of time. I believe that's the difference. If you violate mankind's free will, you're going to get locked up. If you make a deal, obviously it's allowed to proceed if they don't violate mankind's free will. That's my opinion. Now, another thing. You've got modern day translations like the NIV that try to make this sound like a political issue. There's nothing about the seed of men being mingled with. I'll read it to you. And just as you saw iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. Folks, that makes it sound like it's a political issue. Total garbage. That word for seed, that word seed right there, folks, okay? That word is zera, and it means seed. It means exactly what is said, what is printed in the KJV, and they mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave. That cleave word is Hebrew, and it's derivative of the word used for marriage about a man cleaving to his wife in Genesis, okay? So right there, that's basically why I believe what I believe, because it says they're going to mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave. So they're not taking wives. It's an experimentation program, folks. They're coming down here, impregnating women and taking the babies and leaving. They're not staying on earth or continuing to have a claim on that female as her being their wife to have children and watch their children here, folks, okay? That's the difference. They're making hybrids out, and it's away from mankind. They're not living amongst mankind with wives. I think that's the difference. They shall not cleave. I think that's a reference to marriage and the word cleave in Genesis, which is derivative. It's not identical, but it's derivative if you want to look it up in the Hebrew, right? Now also, you've got the parable of the wheat and tares. Now I've heard a lot of people say that the parable of the wheat and tares is just about people that aren't really saved in the church, this, that, and the other. Okay, folks, if you believe that, that's fine. I don't believe that. I believe the parable of the wheat and the tares is literally about the genetic hybrids that are here among us right now. Yeah, I said it. Genetic hybrids, I believe, are out here among us. Reports of people seeing Bigfoot, reports of people seeing black-eyed kids, reports of people running into these beings or entities that for whatever reason they can't maintain their shape, and they start to develop reptilian features, and then they know that the person observing them seen it and they run off and try to hide their face. I believe those reports are real. I believe the Bible supports that. Now, if you think I'm crazy, fine, then I guess I'm just crazy. But I'm not going to hide what I truly believe. That's exactly what I believe. And I am convinced 100% before this is all over with, before the end comes, everybody worldwide will know that hybrids exist, folks. I think it's going to be part of disclosure and part of enticing people to take the mark. Anyways, I'm going to read this parable to you. Matthew 13:24-30. Another parable put he forth unto them, talking about Jesus, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. Now, the kingdom of heaven, folks, in this reference, I believe it is a reference to like the earth and the creation, right? Okay. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Okay. Now, folks, I've never planted wheat. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's my understanding a tare don't come from a wheat. It's an entirely different plant to itself, right? So, I mean, this belief that you know, like the people try to say that it's unsaved people in the church or people that Satan has possessed with demons. I don't think that lines up with what's being said here, because you would have to be wheat first, and tare is never wheat, as far as I understand. Maybe I misunderstand that, but as far as I understand, tare is never wheat. It's a completely different type of plant. Anyway, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up, and fruit brought forth, then appeared the tares also. Now, the reaping, folks, would be the end of the world, right? I believe that's the book of Revelation when the end times come, right? Okay, I believe that's what's a reference to, you know. The world is ready for harvesting. The millennial reign's coming. Jesus is going to come back and reign here for 1,000 years. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, doest not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath the tares come? Okay, the question is, you sowed wheat in there. Why are there tares here? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? These are basically the angels talking to God, saying, okay, would you want us to just go gather up the wheat? God's replying, but he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, you root up also wheat with them. There would be a war, folks. It would be there. I believe that is referencing a big nasty event and exchange, you know, in which that it would not be easy to separate the hybrids from us among, you know, the hybrids from among, you know, the regular people right now. It's basically a mess, right? And when the end comes, you're going to see that, folks. They're going to group up against God. They're going to rally against God in Psalms 2, and Jesus, out of the word of his mouth, is going to slay them all. And they say that the blood is going to come up as high as a horse's bridle, folks. It's going to be a pretty messy situation, okay? Let both grow together unto the harvest, and in the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Okay, now it's a parable, folks. This is my interpretation of that. If you don't think that speaks of like a hybrid type of human being that's a tare, that's fine and good. I don't know for sure that's what that means, but I suspect that's what that means. I think that's what's a reference to. I believe the whole Bible, and when you consider the whole thing with mankind, is all about fallen angels coming down here and experimenting on mankind. What does Genesis 1 even says there's a serpent seed, folks? What is it? No, it's Genesis 3:15. Hold on a minute. I can't even tell you. Okay, Genesis. Let's just go to 3. I think it's 15. All right. Look here. This is God prophesizing, telling the serpent and telling the woman what he's going to do. Okay. And the Lord said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, talking about tricking Adam and Eve into eating the apple, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of my life. Okay, I believe that is a reference to serpent and everything linked directly to that serpent being the Nakash, because I believe the Nakash had representation on earth that was a snake that had legs. Because notice the curses, they go on their stomach, right? So it obviously had legs before, but I believe that thing kind of was represented in creation by some type of snake being that lost its legs. That's deep theology. I don't know really, I can't tell you that's exactly what it is. Anybody who wants to dig in on that like they know, in my opinion, are making a mistake. Here's the important part. And I will put enmity between thee and thy woman, between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Okay, what is the seed of the serpent? God says he's going to put enmity, animosity basically, between the demonic seed and her seed. And we know her seed is a reference to Jesus Christ, because women don't have seed, men have seed, and God, Jesus Christ is literally God in the flesh. So technically, being God, no man's seed was involved. It's a woman's seed. So that would have to be a reference to Jesus Christ based on that. But again, my question is, what is the serpent seed? Okay. Now, if this is mentioned in Genesis 3, and in Genesis 6, fallen angels start tampering with the seed of mankind. Okay. And then God sends a flood to destroy that. And the Bible says the giants or the Nephilim were on the earth before the flood and also after that. Doesn't it stand to reason they forced themselves on mankind the first time? God sent the flood as judgment and locked those angels up. Then they came back and started making deals, and that's how you have Nephilim after the flood, because the fallen angels kind of learned their lesson, and they said, well, if we make deals and we don't violate mankind's free will, then we can continue to experiment on them. And that explains the sightings of Bigfoot, the sightings of black-eyed kids, UFO abductions, alien grays, all of that, I believe, is you can explain all of that. And then you've got situations that support the deal thing. Number one, Satan tried to offer Jesus a deal, okay? Number two, we've got all these rumors running around about this treaty called the Greta Treaty, in which Eisenhower, like in the 40s or the 50s, literally made a deal with these demonic entities and said, if you will give the U.S. government technology and teach us some of your technology, then we will allow you to experiment on our cattle and on our human beings, so long as you return them after you're done and no one is harmed, okay? That's when the UFO abduction scenario exploded, folks. Would have been around the time Eisenhower literally, they say Eisenhower met with these beings and cut that deal at that Air Force base. All right? Before, it wasn't so widely reported. It really wasn't even a thing, you know? And then after that Greta Treaty reportedly happened, there's a big explosion in UFO sightings and abductions, folks. Now, okay, that's my opinion based on all this information that we have out here, okay? Now, you can call me crazy, but people were calling me crazy 10 years ago, and now you have the government literally going back and admitting these things have an electrical quality to them, and admitting there's missing pregnancies involved in this. All the stuff I've been saying for 10 years, you called me crazy 10 years ago for saying. Okay, so, I'm just saying. You said I was crazy, and nothing you said was the truth. And actually, back then, you cited the government and said, well, if that was true, the government would know about it, and they'd tell us about it. Well, now the government is telling you about it, and you're still telling me I'm crazy. Well, okay, fine. That stuff, it used to bother me a lot more than it does now, but, I've literally lost friendships over it, so it aggravates me. But I'm not the type of person that's going to believe something and not say it. I'm not going to believe it privately. I just can't live like that. I've got a big mouth. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, and if you don't like it, fine. If you do like it, great, But anyways, folks, I wanted to put together this video and explain that. And again, I'm going to try to add the clip of this news, of this Fox News video that's 2.5 minutes long that aired on Fox News on Bret Baier's show. I'm going to try to add it to this video. But if you've heard me talk about this and complain about this before, folks, you know that YouTube will literally stop me from posting those videos sometimes. So I'll add it to the end, and if they'll let me post it, great. And if they won't, I'll add my opinion on this thing. I'll post my opinion on this thing, and I'll put the link to the video on Facebook, because Facebook will let me post the video. It's typically only YouTube that gives me problems. Anyways, folks, all of that information will be in the link or in the description to this video and all that stuff. And, folks, you want to comment, let me know what you think. I'd like to hear it. And until next time, folks, God bless y'all in Jesus' name.
Truth is out there, and it might be terrifying. A just uncovered Defense Department summary of UFO-induced effects ranging from abduction and paralysis to electrical shocks and even sexual encounters is shocking the world tonight. The report, again, is from the Defense Department. But what does this all mean? How are we supposed to interpret it when talking about UFOs? We're just starting this investigation. National correspondent William Lajeunesse shows us tonight.
Pilots tracking unidentified objects, balls of light suspended over the ocean, UFOs chasing warships, all part of a growing body of sightings of UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomena.
Oh my gosh, they're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Now comes something even more explosive, a 1,500-page Pentagon report of previously classified documents cataloging accounts from witnesses and victims, claiming radiation burns, brain damage, even paralysis after close encounters with UAPs.
This is the most haunting of all the reports from my perspective, because it shows immunological deficiency. It shows altering human DNA. It shows degradation on a cellular level.
Prepared in 2010 by the Pentagon's secret Advanced Aerospace Weapons Program, the report was released only after a Freedom of Information request. It found sufficient incidents, accidents have been accurately reported, and medical data acquired as to support a hypothesis that some advanced systems are already deployed and opaque to full U.S. understandings.
This is from within the documents themselves.
The report says humans have been injured from exposure to UFOs, from abductions and perceived time loss to sexual encounters and unexplained pregnancies.
We're talking about an area where there is intervention with the human being on such a level that it's beyond just negative health effects. Some of this stuff is really bizarre.
So what's next? While this program ended in 2010, Corbell says the Pentagon continues to study UFOs, and more military videos and documents are likely to be released this year. No response from the Pentagon. Brett?
Okay, William, thank you. We will continue to follow this story and get any updates that we can. We wanted to bring you that report when we had it.